pre-season testing, day 2. And I'm sure it'll be just as exciting as yesterday. Do we think? Hold on. Picking the wrong image. There we go. Perfecto. Welcome. Let's see what the day has in store for us. And what joys testing can bring on this fine day. Give that a little tickle, guys. Give that link a little tickle. You know it says... No, I just changed it to day 2. Let me go back. Maybe I didn't save it. No, definitely says day 2. Oh, you're talking on the screen. Yeah, no, that's gonna that's gonna change in a second. Don't worry about that. I was in a bit of a rush this morning. Yeah, I'll change that in a sec. But thank you. They're already right out on track, by the way. Not messing about. How is everyone anyway? It's early in the UK. It's early. Okay. I'm hoping that we see some quicker runs this evening. Normally, the end of Friday evening is when people start to give a little bit away. Perez and Hamilton are out for their respective teams today. They were the only two that weren't out. That weren't out yesterday. I dare say Checo won't have the same speed that Max did. You know, that's probably fair. Well, he won't think it's fair, but I think it's fair. Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I'm hoping that other car. The thing is, supposedly, I don't know how much you believe this. One sec. I don't know how much you believe this, but um, supposedly Ferrari said that they won't run full engine mode until next week. So they're implying that they haven't, unleashed the tank. Morning, Calf. Right, there we go. Yeah, I was just resetting it to change it to the new day. I'm going to leave those notes there. No need to change them. Yes. God, it must be mad getting up at 7 o'clock to watch cars going around the track in a non-competitive manner. What's wrong with me, guys? Looks nice in Bahrain, though. That aero rake is substantial on that McLaren. Quite the aero rake, isn't it? Did you set your alarm? Gotta watch Hadz at 7 a.m. Let me tell you, Wolves, no one likes me that much to purposely get up at 7 a.m. And I'm fine with it. What time is it? What time is it for you, Monkey? Is it in the evening? 11 p.m. Okay, yeah. Oh, so yeah, Perez is only in the morning, and then Verstappen's in this evening. Window that Williams looks pretty smart, to tell you the truth. Looks all right. Um, Charles Leclerc. from everything I saw yesterday, and not reading too much into times, I do feel like Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren are behind Red Bull. Hold on, that Ferrari had a bit more carbon on it then. One sec. Reveals Ferrari. Oh, no. That part was carbon. Fair enough. I'll let him off. Well, I just think I'm worried. I'm worried that Mercedes, for it's a blur this morning. I'm worried that Red Bull were a second faster yesterday. Times don't matter. Helmut Marko's come in and said we're probably about 0.3 quicker. But I'm worried that they were that much quicker and they weren't even going for it. That's my concern. Yes, other teams haven't put in their performance runs yet, and I get that. And Red Bull were the only team to run like in that cold evening doing a performance run. So that explains the big gap and all that. But yeah, I don't think Red Bull have even opened the tanks yet. So we'll see. We will see. I mean, we got to hope that that isn't their true performance. Otherwise, we're all in trouble, aren't we? Nah, nothing yet, Will. Nothing much to speak of. Lots of cars going out. Aero rakes. The Mercs went all right, Monkeyface. But they didn't do any performance runs. They've said it. Other people have said it. They were just doing long runs. So they were well down the timings, but they didn't care. They weren't going for performance. So, yeah. The car looked pretty good though. Like it looked smooth. It didn't look too leery. Like the rear wasn't stepping out on them like it was always last season. I don't think the ride down the straight is as good as the Red Bull. The Red Bull is so smooth, it's like just gliding over the road, you know. They've got such a good suspension and floor. The Mercedes doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look as smooth either. So, yeah, we're not... To tell you the God's honest truth, we are not going to know how quick everyone is until qualifying next week. That's the reality. Where have you heard that, Birmingham? Listen, I hope so, because I hope that, I hope that there's competition for Red Bull. I hope Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari are all up there. That would be an amazing season. I'm just not sure that I've seen anything that would imply that they could compete with Red Bull at the minute. But I've not seen anything to say that they can't either. So we just won't get a reading of it even this week, I don't think. It'll be next week. That'll be the time when we'll really feel it. I think McLaren look really good. I don't think McLaren have shown their hand yet. The one that I'm a little bit concerned about, if I'm honest, is Ferrari. The Ferrari car yesterday didn't look that great. The rear looked a little bit loose to me. So that would be my concern. I'm not sure if Ferrari have moved forward. Again, you can only take so much from how cars look, because what we really need to know is how their performance relates, and we won't know that just yet. Well, Mercedes probably will do more performance tomorrow, but they might choose to do performance with Lewis tonight because it's a relative session tonight and it's the only evening session Lewis will be in, because he's in the car in the morning tomorrow and George is in the evening. So they might choose to do a performance run with Lewis tonight because it's his only representative session, because that's when the race is going to be held next week. It makes the most sense. Yeah, Ferrari have said that... Hiya, Sean, good morning. Ferrari have said that they're not just looking forward to next season. It's not a stopgap season. They've said that, but that doesn't mean that isn't true. I don't think that would be an intention of theirs. I don't think they're just thinking, oh, let's just have a stopgap. But that might be how it turns out, because they made some big changes to their car, and they might not have got it right. Same with Mercedes. They've made big changes to their car, and you just don't know if they've got it 100% right or not. I think that was what they're talking about it now in commentary, but it was impressive. Max did 140 laps yesterday. I mean, that's a lot. It's almost 3 race distances. 156 would have been 3 race distances, I think. I think it's 52 laps. And that is seriously impressive. That is a reliable car. Very reliable car. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Lewis does at Ferrari, for sure. Also, guys, Logan Sargent, top of the timetable. Logan Sargent for world champion. Said it before, I'll say it again. What a lad he is, Logan Sargent. I'm just going to pin this so people can see it. If you haven't, just give it a cheeky like, folks. It does help me out. If you watch it on YouTube, be sure to give that stream a cheeky like. It's free. It does help me out. I appreciate it. Yeah, they're taking away... Oh, they're taking apart the brakes on that Red Bull. Ran flawlessly yesterday when Max was in the car, but now they've got a brake issue? Oh, dear. Yeah, George Russell in his interview yesterday said it felt like a step forward, but, that doesn't mean anything, does it? Because Red Bull made a step forward and McLaren and everyone. Max has sabotaged the car, yeah. Imagine if this was the grid for Q3, Bahrain. Sargent P1, Leclerc, Hamilton 2 third, second and third even, not 2 and third. I wanted to talk about something, actually. I don't know if you noticed this yesterday, but and this isn't necessarily Christian Horner, and I could be wrong, so someone could correct me here. Christian Horner didn't really show himself very much yesterday. He was in the garage, but it felt like he was staying out of the view of the camera whenever he could. I don't know if I'm reading too much into that. He wasn't in his Red Bull uniform, which he normally is. Adrian Newey always wears his own clothes to test and he doesn't care. But normally Christian Horner's in a Red Bull top. He wasn't. I don't think he did any interviews. Not that I saw. So maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think Toto did an interview. I don't know if anyone can confirm if Horner did. Yeah, he's in the garage, but he hasn't done any public speaking as far as I'm aware. But I'm willing to be corrected if someone could say that he did do an interview yesterday. Helmut Marko did an interview, but I don't think Christian Horner did. No, we don't know what's happening with Horner yet. We know it's being investigated, but we don't know any. It just takes time, apparently. You know, it's a process, and it's a legal process. So what they've said is it won't run on Formula One time. What that means is, you know, it won't run on Formula One time in the sense of it won't be completed by, or it might not be completed by the first test or the first race. It'll be completed when it's completed. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Normally, he would have been speaking to the press after testing yesterday, but he didn't. That I can see. I haven't seen an interview with him anywhere, and I feel like that's quite telling. Again, I could be reading too much into this, but I get the feeling that he was at testing with the proviso: don't do any interviews, don't speak. You can go, but don't, like, you know, just blend in. Again, like I say, I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm reading into it, but that's how it felt to me. Well, yeah, everyone will be asking. That's why I think they're just trying to avoid having a conversation about it. So I thought his name was Alex Jax, but it's Alex Jakes. I'm getting his name wrong this entire time. God, that timing page that they use in the commentary with hasn't been changed since the 90s. Let's have a look at this Ferrari then. Is Crofty on holiday? I was wondering why he wasn't at testing. Was he gone on a family holiday or something? Hi, Gift. It's bloody Formula One testing. He's at home. What? Let me see. 31.8 for Leclerc, straight off. Hello. Morning, Goofed. What do we think of that lap by Charles? I'm just rewinding it to watch it back because I wasn't paying attention. I tell you what, just from watching this onboard with the Ferrari, it does look heavy, but it looks more balanced than it did yesterday. The rear isn't snapping out on him as much. I feel like yesterday as well, especially with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, he had to take quite a few stabs at a lot of corners. One of the problems Ferrari had last year was a poor front end. Like they were struggling with turning. I feel like their turning's better, but it's still quite yeah, it looked better than yesterday. I mean, Max's time yesterday was... Hi, Zoom. He was a 31.3 yesterday. But that wasn't anywhere near on like qualifying pace or anything. That was just nowhere near. He can go significantly faster than that. Well, what was the I think the I think in qualifying it was a 29.7 for qualifying in Bahrain last year. I think we're going to beat that. See you, Zoo. Have a lovely day. You're learning to go after... Oh, you're leaning to go after that Moses set. Any tips before... Where are you putting it, Monkey? Where are you putting the wheel and the pedals? Have you got like a rig or one of those setups? What is going on with Piastri? Nothing. I think he's been out. He's done a few aero rake runs. He's gone back into the garage. Nothing drastic. I think they're just making a few changes to the car. Just doing his own... They're just doing their own run plan, that's all. God, look how complicated even those brakes are. I don't know how people remember where everything goes. I just don't know. Desk mounting. Are they load cell pedals, Monkeyface? You do have to be a rocket engineer to work on a Formula 1 car, that's what it feels like. So let me... The one piece of advice I could give you, Monkeyface, is something similar to what I did. Hold on, let me see if I can find it for you. Gotta just try and find it. It was from when we lived at the other house. I was looking at it the other day as well. I came across it the other day. And now I bet you I won't be able to find it. I think... I'm trying to find the example of what I did, Monkeyface. I will find it. Bear with me. It's in this phone somewhere. Just further back than what I'd anticipated. Because it was when I first started... It's when I first upgraded that wheel. So it was well before I got my rig. I'm not sure it's... Bloody hell, how far back does this go? Ah, that's an example. Right, I'll send you this picture. Leclerc is currently top of the timesheets with a lap that honestly wasn't even that fast. He wasn't pushing. Excuse me. Right, I'll put this in Discord. This is what I did with my pedals. It's essentially a piece of MDF that I bolted the pedals to, okay? And what that did was, when I was pressing the pedals, it stopped them from moving and they couldn't tilt because there was a long piece of MDF underneath them, if that makes sense. It changed the center of gravity, and I then just rested that piece of wood against like the skirting board or whatever, or the wall, and then as long as that's square with the wall, they wouldn't move around. I just carpeted it a little bit. So that's what I did with my pedals. So something like that might work for you as well. And then they won't move about. Rightio. Lewis has been, just going around doing a few laps. He's done 11 laps, same as Leclerc, same as Sargent. Good morning, Labato. Yeah, so currently, Leclerc is still fastest. To be honest, it was a lap that was almost as fast as Max's lap yesterday, but the track is cooler. And it's rubbered in, so that's not really surprising. Yeah, especially if you've got tile, Monkey Face, you could get a piece of wood or something that had like just put some rubber bits on the bottom or something. And then if you rest it against the wall or your skirting board or whatever, then it's a square surface. And then when you're pressing on the pedals, they'll never go anywhere. Obviously, it's an annoyance having to move it out of the way, and it makes those pedals take up, when they're not under your desk, it takes up more space. I appreciate that, but that's the only solution I found. So, do with that information what you will. Why was it saying a few people were out earlier? What do you mean earlier? Out how? Was it just as in they're referring to people out on track, maybe? There's no one that's retired from practice, if that's what you mean. There's only 10 people taking part. Every team only gets one car, so there's only half of the grid taking part at any one time. A tyre with a U on it. I must have missed that. Hold on. I'm rewinding. Do you remember when it was? Remember what car it was on? So, the way that, because there's 5 sets of tyres, there's C5, C4, C3, C2, C1, but only 3 are brought to a race weekend. The way they've done it is they've got the mediums are C3. Then there's 2 sets of harder tyres, C4 and C5. No, C2 and C1, sorry. One of them, C2, has the normal white markings. C1 is white, but doesn't have the lines around the side, the brackets. And then it's the same with the soft. So the C4 has all the red markings. C5 doesn't have the brackets, so that you can differentiate between all of the different tires, but I'm not sure if that's what you saw or whether you saw something different. Charles Leclerc's been in the garage for a little while. Perez has gone back out as well. They're putting ballast in the front nose. So yeah, what Ted's saying is right. It must be underweight because they're able to put ballast in the front and move it about. Sergio Perez. Guys, I think it's Sergio Perez's year. I think he's going to win the World Championship. Sorry. Even I couldn't keep a straight face of that one. I know, Monkey Face really would love Sergio to win, wouldn't you? Obviously, but yeah. I don't mean any disrespect to Sergio, but is there any scenario in which anyone thinks in a like-for-like car Sergio could beat Max? Like, no one thinks that. Like, no chance. No chance. Like, it's just not realistic, is it? And he must know that as well. I think since he's come to Red Bull, he realizes the mountain he's up against. Max is just another beast. He's another level. Wolf, good morning to you. Yeah, well, yeah. The only chance Sergio Perez beats Max Verstappen is if Max has a situation like, oh God, what year was it when Schumacher went out in Silverstone? Was it 98, 2002? I'm gonna have to find out now. You know when Schumacher broke his leg? '99. I said 98. It was 99. Give us a shout when you're ready. Yeah, so when Schumacher broke his leg, that's the only chance that Perez has got. Just need to... I'm just going to have to dip away for 10 minutes in a minute. But I won't... I'll be 10 minutes or so. Then I'll be back. Yeah, I think If I'm being honest, I don't think Norris could beat him like for like in the same car. I think Norris could win races against him, but over a season, I don't think Norris would beat Max over a season in the same car. I don't think. And if I'm being honest, I don't think he thinks he could either. Hence why he said he wouldn't go to Red Bull. Hamilton, maybe. Charles Leclerc, maybe. Just because of the experience that Hamilton has might help. But if he was going to Red Bull, I'm not so sure. If Max was coming to Mercedes, maybe. But if Hamilton was going to Red Bull, I'm not so sure about that. I don't really see it. If I'm being honest. I mean, it could go one or two ways for Hamilton at Ferrari. He could fall off and struggle. What you got to remember is, as well, it's not just a new car or a new team. It's a team that's out of the country. They're based in Italy, okay? Different mentality, different lifestyle. It's completely different. So he's going to Ferrari, okay? You've got Charles Leclerc, who's a very quick driver, who's been bedded in there for a long time. I think it's going to be a struggle for him. He's going to a completely different environment that he hasn't been for 10 years. I'm not convinced it's going to be a success. He's going to have to adapt to another car. And yeah, we'll just have to see. I'm not sure. I don't see Verstappen going to Ferrari. I tell you what, I see Verstappen not even... Verstappen won't be in Formula 1 as long as people like Alonso and Hamilton, I don't think. I don't think he wants to be. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, listen, you never know what's going to happen with Verstappen later in his career. Who knows? But we'll see. Right. I'm going to be right back in 10 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll try not to be long. Right, I'm back. What did I miss? Apologies. What did I miss? Morning, Dan. Well, you can't miss the Cyber livery. Christ. No one can miss that. Bloody no one. Although, I wish I could miss it. Bloody hideous, isn't it? What's the thought of Hamilton bringing Angela back when he moves? Well, he didn't. Angela left to change her career, Nathan, as I understand it. She's doing other stuff now. She didn't leave for any other reason. Plus, she doesn't need gardening leave because she's not like an engineer or anything like that, as I understand it. She left, what, last year? So I don't think Angela will come back because she didn't leave because of any reason related to Mercedes. It was just change of situation, as I understand it. Yeah, well, yeah, they'll be contractors. I don't think they'll be hired by Mercedes. They'll be hired by the drivers, I think. I don't know, though. I don't know exactly how it works. But I still can't get over that Alpine. I moaned about it yesterday, but I say it might be due to the livery, but the nose just looks so wide. It just catches me off guard every time I see it. Hmm. Yeah, it's a good story, that. I mean, so what they're talking about in commentary now is the fact that Hamilton's going to Ferrari now, and Fred Vasseur is obviously running Ferrari. But back when Lewis started his career in Formula 3 and GP2, it wasn't called Formula 2 then, it was called GP2, Fred Vasseur was the team boss. And that's actually kind of poetic that he'll now end his career with the same team boss as he started his career with. It's kind of a nice story. You know, he's got a relationship with Fred Vasseur from when he was young, and so it is kind of a nice story, really, from that respect. The Alpine's just, it's such a boat. It's such a boat. Yeah. Looks like a cruise ship, that Alpine. It's not the one. Lewis can't take staff with him either. There's a clause in his contract that says he can't approach people about going with him. That isn't the same as people actually going with him, though. So what that means is he can't go and have a conversation with people about going to Ferrari with him. However, Ferrari can approach those people and offer them jobs, just as they normally would. And those people can choose to leave, and those people can choose to go and speak to Ferrari if they want to. It's just Lewis can't instigate it, or that'll be a breach of contract. So that's all it is. So but it's a hard thing to prove, though, isn't it? He could, in theory, have just a little conversation, behind the garage, like, hey, Bono. Whoa. The other thing to consider, and this is a hugely, hugely important thing, some people won't want to go with him because they'd have to uproot their life to Italy. The base of Mercedes is in the UK. Brackley. Well, yeah, and no. Is it Brackley? I got that wrong. No, it is Brackley. I doubted myself for a second then. But if engineers and that went, they'd have to go to Italy. They'd have to go to Maranello. And not that many people would want to uproot their lives. They've got families, kids, and go to Italy. So it's I haven't really spoke about this, but Fernando's only got 6 installation laps on the board, so we've got an hour gone, so this is going to be his first lap. Sargent's got the most lap. No, he hasn't. Joe Gagne's got 23. Hamilton's only got 13. I don't know. I rewound a little bit, so I think 304. 303, 57, 56. I think it's mad that they think Charles Leclerc is a faster driver over one lap than Max Verstappen. That's mad to me. Well, the thing is, Nathan, there's one thing. This zero pod thing that we've been talking about, it's actually not a zero pod. We've seen the radiators, so Red Bull are potentially reducing the size of their side pods a few races into the season, but it won't be a zero pod. It'll be very slim, but it won't be zero pod. So it won't be as aggressive as Mercedes, but I believe that if Adrian Newey has gone down this direction, he knows what he's doing. So, yeah, I think I don't see any reason to suspect that they haven't nailed it. I think they'll be quick at the start of the season, but then when they make this change, supposedly for the Japanese Grand Prix, will they still be quick? I don't know. Will they be quicker? Yeah, Leclerc is very quick. I don't think there's a doubt about that. Japan is April. Yes, the start of April. Is it? Yeah. I think it's because I'm actually away that weekend as well. Annoyingly, yeah, 5th to 7th of April. That weekend is the weekend that Joe has bought me tickets for the British GT Championship at Alton Park. So I'm actually there all weekend, but Japan's also on first thing in the morning. But we might be driving to it every day, so I might still be able to stream the race on Sunday. Yeah, coming to Japan, yeah, because Japan's so early this year. Hmm. There is a worry for me that Hamilton goes to Ferrari and he becomes a little bit like Sebastian Vettel, where he's just kind of like a shadow of his former self. That is somewhat of a concern for me. Hmm. Well, I think that's what we all want, right? We want an interesting season at the front. We want to see, ideally, multiple teams fighting for that win. Um, Whether we'll get that or not, though, well, that's a whole other question, isn't it? Some. Do 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 do. All right. Just looking for some data. There was something I saw yesterday, pre-season testing, day one, track dominance, right? And it was interesting that Red Bull were pretty much the strongest car on most of the straights, but they weren't the strongest car in any of the corners. The medium speed corners they were, but when it came to like turn 4, it was McLaren, turn 13, McLaren, turn 14, 15 was Ferrari, turn 8 was Ferrari, turn 9 and 10 was Ferrari. But Red Bull were quick down the straight. Now that could mean one of two things. Maybe Red Bull had a higher engine mode. Maybe they're just more efficient down the straight. We know they were last year. Verstappen's top speed was 315 kilometers, whereas Norris was 311 and Sainz was 313. So there isn't a huge difference between Ferrari and Verstappen. But Norris was quick in a lot of the corners. So top speed from Mercedes was 309, whereas Verstappen's was 315. So is that Mercedes still having a draggy car, or is that them just not, running to the max? As far as I'm aware, the contract is ongoing, I think, Wolf. With Monaco, I don't believe there's been any changes, sadly. One car we haven't, it's not that we haven't talked about it, but maybe we haven't given enough credit to when we've been talking about, who's going to be at the front, is Aston Martin, because the car looks solid. It looks like a solid car. It really does. Yeah, it was looking a little bit loose earlier, wasn't it? In Alonso's hands, but maybe he's just pushing the limit a little bit more, but Hamilton's still only done 13 laps. He's been in the garage for quite some time now. 23 laps from Zhou Guan Yu. Perez has done 9. I feel like this is... There we go. Perez on 11 now. I was looking at old information. Just looks so smooth over the bumps, that Red Bull. That's what impresses me so much with it. Yes, it's a quick car, but it looks smooth. It takes the bumps really well, which means that rear suspension is doing so much good work to absorb the bumps and keep the floor at the height it needs to be at. I actually think the reason that Red Bull is as quick as it is a lot to do with that rear suspension. Like, it just looks so smooth. Yeah, then you see that then you see the Haas over the bumps, and it looks like it's going to launch into the front row. I think teams will look at copying Merc's front wing if they deem that it gives them a performance advantage. But ultimately, it's not that simple because the front wing affects the whole airflow going back onto your car, onto your side pods, around the wheels, into the floor. It's not as simple as just copying the wing because it's not that simple. So they'd have to really look at it and make sure that it obviously worked with their setup, but they'll definitely be looking at it. 100%. They'll already have people back in the factory looking at it. But it might not be as simple as just copying it, you know? It just depends if it works with their sort of setup. Yeah, Checo's done a lot of laps, but he hasn't done any quick laps. He's done 11 laps, but it's all installation laps. He did have a brake problem, though. I'm wondering whether they're just trying to get on top of that. Because I think maybe they're just trying to fix a problem. Sargent's out on the C... Is that the C4 or the C5? I can't see from the onboard view. He's just out there on the soft tyres, just going ham. It's red, yeah. But I can't tell from this shot whether it's C4 or C5. I can only tell from the external shot. There was a really good image of the Williams floor online yesterday because obviously Albon's car stopped, and when the crane picked it up, everyone's got a really good look at the floor. There you go, Sergeant. Someone came into that. I can't remember who it was. Someone was saying yesterday. Oh, God. It was a regular viewer, but I can't remember who it was now. They were like, oh, it's not on ESPN Formula 1. And I was like, yeah, it is. I had two people tell me it was on ESPN. I had Monkeyface tell me it was on ESPN Plus, and I had someone else say, oh, it is on ESPN. I'm off to watch it. Bye. Yeah, I don't like the look of Alpine so far, Lucas. I don't like the look of it at all. Honestly, I think it looks like a boat. I've not seen anything with Alpine right now that would make me think that car's going to be particularly quick. I might be proved wrong. I genuinely, based on what I've seen, I think Alpine could be at the back of the midfield. Because RB, let's call them Toro Rosso, they look like they've made a step forward. Williams looks decent. And so I get the feeling that Stake don't look terrible. I think Alpine could be at the back with Haas. Alpine could be at the back with Haas. The onboards of that Alpine just don't look great. It looks like it's running really stiff. It looks like there's lots of mid-corner understeer. It does look like they're running it heavy, but it just doesn't look good. Actually don't know what the track temp is. Yeah, it was cooler than yesterday, I think, from what they said. Yeah, but it doesn't look... It's not a quick lap time. So... Oh, loads of understeer. Loads of understeer in that car. And then it was wobbly. Yeah, that didn't look good at all. Yeah, that didn't look good. Yeah, he's actually really good, Palmer. He does a lot of stuff on the YouTube, like Formula One stuff. He's actually got some good knowledge, and he's a bit of a natural in front of the camera. A bit like Anthony Davidson, actually. He's really good at it. Hmm. Didn't look like a good lap from Lewis, though. There's lots of understeer into, what was that, turns 8, 9, like 10. And then he had a wobble into 11, 12. Didn't look as planted as it did for George Russell. Yeah, Checo doesn't look as comfortable as Max did yesterday, does he? But to be fair, Max wasn't comfortable straight away on a dirty track. I think the one thing to consider, and I don't have the data on exactly how strong it is, but apparently it is very windy today at Bahrain, so at the circuit. So, and that could play a big part in some of the moments that we're seeing. I don't think they're sandbagging necessarily, but I don't think they've cranked the engine up yet either. Based on the times down the straight that I've seen, I don't think they've... Well, I hope they haven't, because they're quite down on top speed again. So if they say they've improved, a little bit in terms of drag, and even though the engine rules are restricted and they can't make too many changes, they would hope that they would gain a little bit from various reliability changes and software and things like that. To be so far down in straight line speed again would be a disappointment. So I assume that they're running lots of fuel, got the engine turned down. I hope so for their sake. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Alpine didn't have a good season last year either, right? So Alpine had a pretty poor season last year. You've got Gasly and Ocon, who are very good drivers, both of them. Notoriously don't get on with each other, though. They tolerate each other now, but they'll never be mates. They do not like each other. And so you've got these two guys who are decent drivers, but the car just wasn't good. It feels like Gasly has to wait so long before he can get on the throttle because the cars just take so long to turn. It feels like the front end is so lazy. Then in the final corner, it finally does turn, and then he gets a snap of oversteer. I mean, he's lifting and coasting into turn one massively as well. He's backed out of that. Yeah, it just doesn't look like it's got any sort of balance in the corner. To me. So Hamilton looking a little bit more balanced on this lap. It's not a quick lap, but oh, I say that and then it goes very, very wide. Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, that's a very good point. Alpine still believe they're down a little bit on engine power compared to some of the other manufacturers. Those Google Chrome logos on the McLaren, on the headrest, look fucking stupid, don't they? Just seeing them now, don't like it. All these teams that it's such a weird scenario, really, because let's say you've got Mercedes now, right? And Mercedes aren't doing quick runs. They're not trying to do fast laps. They know how much fuel they've got in their car and what their engine modes are, whatever they will be, right? And then they see Max Verstappen do a time or Charles Leclerc do a time. Well, they will know, based on how much fuel they've got, if they can match that time. Obviously, they don't know what engine mode and fuel the other team's running, but they'll know, yeah, we could do that. Or they'll be looking at it going, we can't do that. They'll know. Because they know what their engine mode is. They'll know what fuel's in their car. We don't know, but they'll know. Who's this guy with the orange trousers? Why has he got this massive orange stripe down his trousers? Yeah, I wouldn't say there's been any real surprises. The teams that are putting in good laps, however representative and real they are the teams we expected. Teams like Aston Martin, Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull. So these are all the teams we expected to look decent. And so far, I think they've all looked good. I think the McLaren looks good on board. I think the Aston Martin looks good on board. I actually think the Mercedes, for the most part, yesterday looked pretty solid on board. The car that I felt out of those top 4 or 5 didn't look great was the Ferrari. It's still the quickest this morning, but I felt like it didn't look perfectly balanced. That Mercedes looks quite bouncy today. Looks quite bouncy going into turn 8. This gyro cam really gives you a sense of speed, doesn't it, down that straight? Yeah, turns 2 and 3, though, didn't look great. Didn't look bad through turn 4. Everyone's taking that exit curb. Looks quite slippy. It does look like it's about to shake off this camera view, doesn't it? It does look like that. Gives you anxiety, makes you just want to catch it. Oh. He's doing multiple laps, Lewis, so it is a higher fuel run. Trying to gauge body language. I don't think the Mercedes has looked as planted in Lewis Hamilton's hands today, though, if I'm being honest. It looked a lot more stable yesterday. Maybe we're just seeing more footage of Lewis. Because F1 loves to show Lewis. Maybe that's why we're just seeing more. God, I hate that Sauber. I really hate it. Maybe if Max starts dominating the season early on, we can just all sign a petition to skip this season and just start next season. Give everyone 3 months to work on next year's car, and then we'll just start next season early. That blue on the Toro Rosso looks lovely. I mean, yeah, at the minute, I'm not anticipating anything other than Max. Well, Latifi. What was Nicholas Latifi doing? Was it Nicholas Latifi that was doing like a degree, or was that someone else? Yeah, it was. It was him, wasn't it? Komatsu. I would say to join Mercedes, we have in the runners Kimi Antonelli, the Mercedes young driver, Alex Albon, and who would be the third? Who would be my third potential? Yeah, maybe Ocon. Maybe Ocon. I think Ocon, Albon, and Kimi Antonelli will be three that will be in the conversation, I think. I don't love Ocon, but I could see him doing all right in a Mercedes. I'm not sure about Alonso going in there because they didn't want to give Lewis another 2-year contract, right? So why would they take Alonso? One of the reasons Lewis left is because they kept giving him 1-year contracts. Alonso's 2 years older than Lewis. Lewis is all over the place. You can't even get a little bit of throttle down. What the hell was that? That was weird. So yeah, I think Ocon's a possibility, you know. I can't see Alonso going there. He's what, 41 now? 40, he'd be 40, 42 going on 43. It'd be a kick in the teeth if they wouldn't give Lewis a 2-year deal, but they sign a 42-year-old. Like, what? I think they need to go the other way. They've got George Russell there for long term now. They need to go the other way and get someone else that can stay the course, I think. Ocon's still young enough. Albon, Kimi Antonelli. Gasly. I haven't really considered Gasly for Mercedes, if I'm being honest. I haven't considered Gasly for Mercedes. Do we think Gasly would even be on their radar? I'm not so sure. I'd need to look because I think, I could be wrong, but I think Gasly and Ocon contract are up at the end of the year. I think. Oh, all right then. Let me ask you a different question. You can take either Gasly or Ocon. Which one are you taking? You could take Gasly or Ocon. Those are your two options in this scenario. Which one do you take? Gasly, Wolves. Is he the ghost of Gasly? Gasly. You think? That's interesting because I would have said Ocon. And I don't even like Ocon. Morning, Ron. I would have said Ocon, and I don't even like him. Pierre Gasly. I don't see Yuki going like to a Red Bull or a top team or something like that. I think he's a good lad, but if I'm being 100% honest, I don't think he's got the temperament for it. I don't think he's got the temperament for it. That Williams nose is a wide boy as well, isn't it? It's a lot wider than last year's nose. It's not. It doesn't feel as wide as Alpine's, but it probably is. I think it's the livery on the Alpine that makes it look worse. Ricardo. Should we start an ASMR channel where we just say Formula One drivers' names sexily? Gasly. Ricardo. Alonso. Just like that. How do you feel about that? Well, I'll have you know, Ron, that what you think is sexy is not what I think is sexy. Oof, that's bold, that, Wolves. That's bold. I'm not sure that's strictly true, though, because George had been, he'd been there, in the wings, hadn't he? It's what Joe likes that matters. And I'll be honest, I don't think she would like that. That would irritate Joe. It wouldn't be something she'd want. She doesn't like anyone talking close to her ear. It goes through her. I think maybe there's a lot of people who are like that. If I was just to speak gently into her ear, she'd be like, ugh. So obviously I do it every now and again, because I'm a bastard. I think Ocon. What happened last year with Ocon and Gasly? Who won? I can't even remember. Gasly finished 4 points ahead of Ocon. They both had a podium each. So they were pretty evenly matched, weren't they? Just try shouting. I'm gonna say this. Maybe I should have put this in my video. I'm gonna say something, and then we can discuss it. Okay. I don't think Sergio Perez is going to be at Red Bull next year. Discuss. Unless he has some blinder of a season, I think his time at Red Bull's up. I think he had a bad season last year, and he needs a blinder this year to save that job. There is a potential that if he has a bad enough time, he could be swapped mid-season. Sergio Perez to Mercedes. Maybe Mercedes will take Sergio Perez just so he can give them a bit of information. But then when he arrives at Mercedes, it turns out he doesn't absorb any information, and that's why he's shit. You know? I like Sergio, by the way. I actually like Perez. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a good driver. I just don't think he's top caliber driver. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's loads of drivers in Formula One that are really quick, good drivers. They just don't have that edge that some drivers have. Like Max has that edge that pushes him above other people, right? Some could argue maybe not now, but Lewis had that edge. I still think he's got it, but he had that edge that pushed him above other people, like other teammates. He had that cutting edge. Alonso, the same. There's certain drivers that just have that. And Perez doesn't have that. He's good, he's quick, but I don't think he has that. I don't think Russell has it either. But maybe he'll prove me wrong. Yeah, he doesn't have a ruthlessness, but he doesn't have that. I feel like he doesn't have that ability that some of these other drivers have to pull a lap out and to manage the tires. Like the way Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso manage tires over a race, Perez doesn't have that. And like there's scenarios that we've seen over the years, like with Max, Lewis, and other people, where they'll pull a qualifying lap out of nowhere. They've been having a bad qualifying session and they'll put a lap together and they'll pull it. That's what world-class drivers do. Max, Lewis. Perez, I don't think has that. He doesn't have that. And I'm not saying that Russell's a bad driver. I think Russell has had some fantastic races so far for Mercedes and fantastic qualifying sessions. But I don't feel that he has that. I don't think he has that level of some of the top guys, and I could be wrong. I don't know. He doesn't feel like he has that. We'll see. Like Max, Lewis. Who else would you say is really good on tire management? I'm not sure, but they're very good. Like Max showed this with Perez, very good at extracting performance while managing the tire. Whereas Perez, he struggles to do both, and that's a skill in itself. And that's a skill in itself to actually maximize the car in terms of getting the lap times, but also preserving the tires, is a real skill. It's something I wouldn't bloody have. Alonso has it as well. I feel like last year you could see the difference between Hamilton and Russell in race trim. I felt like Lewis, in most situations, maybe you disagree, he was quicker than Russell in the race. He had really good pace and tyre management in the race. And that's something that Russell's going to have to get better at. It's something that is... it's a hard thing to teach, isn't it? Because it's all about your driving style, really. What about Charles Leclerc? I mean, I'm not 100% sure on Charles Leclerc's tyre management. And I'll tell you for why. Because that Ferrari over the last few years has been gobbling its tyres. So it's kind of hard to judge, because the Ferrari just sees a tyre and just goes... Arr! So it's impossible to know. See you, monkey face. Yeah, potentially Norris. Potentially Norris. I don't think Piastri did great with it last year, because I think if you look at most of the races, Norris had a much better race pace than he did, for sure. I don't know what's going on. You know the side of the Sauber? They've got like it's almost like tin foil over the vents. And they had this yesterday as well. I don't know what that's all about. What? It looks like they're about to put it in the oven and cook it at 180 degrees for 30 minutes. Like, what's going on with it? Why has it got foil over the vents? Yeah. Unleash the chicken. So, Charles Leclerc's done 29 laps, Piastri 23, Sargent 30, Alonso 20, Hamilton's done 27 now, Perez done 16. Yeah, but it just looks weird, doesn't it? Yeah, they're obviously testing different cooling requirements and all that. It's possible that they don't have the lower temperature part, so higher temperature. So what I mean is that will be a replaceable vent, right? And that vent will have different options, like fully open, maybe 2 slots open. It's possible that they don't have the other parts right now, so they're just using the full vent, closing off a few just to test different temperatures and what. Just have a some data. Yeah, Checo's 0.6 off in the first sector. But it just looks weird with the foil. Do you know what I mean? Do I think Sainz would fit in with Maxwell? I tell you what would be tricky for me, and this is a little bit weird because drivers do better in other teams, footballers move to other clubs and do better. You know, the question I would have, though, is, and this is always a tricky one, if Ferrari are willing to let Carlos Sainz go, why would any other top team want him? But I think Sainz in a Red Bull would do significantly better than Perez, but not quite enough to upset Max. I think Max would have the measure of Carlos in a Red Bull. But I think I think Sainz would get a lot more out of the car. Logan Sargent's got his shirt on. He's not got his race suit on. He's out on the pit wall. What's going on there? I wonder if Williams have got a problem. But yes, Carlos Sainz at Red Bull would be interesting. It would be interesting, certainly. I mean, he'd be bloody happy with that, wouldn't he? Going from Ferrari to Red Bull. I mean, he'd be like, actually, this is bloody great. Yeah, yeah, it's fair. I think if the option of signing Hamilton wasn't around, they would have kept Sainz, I think. I don't think Sainz was doing a bad job at Ferrari by any stretch of the imagination. So I do think... put it this way, I don't think Max would be worried about Carlos Sainz coming into Red Bull. But I do think Carlos Sainz would perform a lot. I would say and maybe you disagree, I think Sainz is a higher caliber driver than Perez. So I think he would do well at Red Bull. But all that is based on the proviso that, you know, Perez wouldn't be at Red Bull anymore. No, that's fair. I don't think Max would be worried about anyone at Red Bull either. He's confident in his ability. He's proven his ability. I don't think he'd be worried about anyone in that other car. I don't think Max would be worried about anyone. So I think that's just the way he is. He knows how good he is. But I do think there's certain drivers that would push him in the same car. I think Hamilton, Alonso, Leclerc, and maybe Norris would push Max in that car. I'm not saying they'd win over the course of a season, but they'd definitely get wins. They would definitely push him. Oh, that click. Oh yeah, Sainz to Red Bull's interesting. In sort of like the midpoint of the season, it's going to start to get interesting. It's going to start to get interesting, and we're going to start to see driver swaps or driver confirmations happening. I think Perez is under a lot of pressure. Now Hamilton has gone to Ferrari, and you've got drivers like Sainz looking for a drive. People like Gasly, Ocon, and loads of the other grids, contracts running out. Perez, after the season he had last year, must know he has to do well this season. He has to start well. He has to start as he means to go on, 100%. He can't be struggling halfway through the season, because we've seen what Red Bull are like. He's got to start at 110%. He had a good start last season, remember, though. He won 2 races early on. But then he didn't win anymore. And then he went really downhill, which is crazy. He had a good start, but then took a nosedive. Went completely the other way. Yeah, I think that could be said for a lot of drivers, though. I think we don't really talk about it a lot, but the mental aspect of Formula One and any sport is huge, isn't it? Sometimes your own worst enemy is yourself. You get in your own head, and you're actually hindering yourself because of your mentality. And that's why sports psychologists and what have you are so prominent and so important these days for sports stars, because often it's yourself that's restricting you. You don't necessarily know that, but that's often the case. Yeah, I think Sargent was okay last season without being spectacular. But when I say okay, I mean he didn't compete with Albon, did he? So, it's not great. I am a little bit surprised they renewed his contract. If I'm being 100% truthful, I'm surprised they renewed his contract. I think he's lucky. Lewis on a quicker lap here. half a second down. It's usually the middle sector where you notice the big time increase. Yeah, I mean, Sargent is another driver who he's okay. But he's not great, is he? By our standards, he's phenomenal, but by Formula 1 standards, he's not good enough. I think who else would you put in that seat though? If Mercedes came to Williams, right, and said we've got this really great young driver, let's say Kimi Antonelli has a phenomenal season in Formula 2, which isn't guaranteed by the way, but let's just say he does. And they say to Williams, "Hey, what about taking this guy for a couple seasons?" And they, James Vowles was asked about it, and he said, "Well, maybe we wouldn't want Antonelli." Why wouldn't you want a quick driver? You'd be mad to not take Antonelli and keep Sargent, wouldn't you? You'd be absolutely bonkers to do that. If Antonelli proves to be as good as people think he is. So that might be a possibility for Mercedes. Put Antonelli in a Williams if he has a good F2 season. So... Well, it's really hard to judge Antonelli right now because he's got loads of hype around him, but he hasn't even done his Formula 2 season. So we shouldn't even be talking about him. We're talking about him like he's a god. Theo Pocher is different because he's won Formula 2, hasn't he? And he deserves a seat. Isn't he a Ferrari driver, though? Isn't he a Ferrari Academy driver? So, I mean, he wouldn't be a possibility for Williams, I don't think. I could be wrong. I'm sure he tested for Alfa Romeo. Yeah, so it's Ferrari, isn't it? So... Yeah, I mean, listen, Theo Pocher deserves a seat. It's a travesty when you've got a young driver who wins Formula 2, but he can't get a seat in Formula 1, when there's people in Formula 1 that don't necessarily deserve to be there on pure speed. And sadly, this is the nature of Formula 1 and always has been. There are drivers who are really quick and deserve to be in Formula 1 that can't get there because there are drivers that bring in money. That's the way. It's a shame. It sucks, but it's the way it is. It's the way it is. Stroll is a good example. Sargent is a perfect example. People that we've had over the years, like Nikita Mazepin. This has been the case. This has been the case. Nah, I don't see Mick Schumacher getting a shot in Formula 1 anytime soon, personally. I don't see any team willing to take him on. I'm not saying his chance is completely over, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think he really proved that he has what it takes. Well, yeah, Ralph got a shot, but so did Mick. Mick got his shot. And, Not only did he not do well in his first season, but then Kevin Magnussen came in with no experience in the car and also did better than him. Like, that's not a good look, is it? And listen, as someone who grew up watching Michael Schumacher, I really wanted Mick to be amazing. But he's not, is he? That's not, again, it's not to say he's bad, but he didn't show any real promise. He's racing this season in WEC with Alpine, so he's got a different program on this year. Doesn't mean that he won't be free next year. But I do not see it. Well, yeah, I mean, Michael Schumacher, the most, or one of, let's say, one of the most successful drivers of all time, an absolute Formula One legend. It's gonna be. This happens so much, though, doesn't it? With sons of sports people across the world. It's almost impossible to live up to your parents' reputation. It's even the same for Carlos Sainz, like his dad. Like, Carlos is a prime example of it. Like, his dad is, you know, multi-rally championship winner, just won the Dakar at like 60 years old. His son is successful Formula One driver, but it'll be always hard to match the achievements of his father, even though it's in a different sport. Mick will have you know, he can't possibly match what his father. Oh, there's Lee Carlos right there. Just as we're talking about him. And his dad. No. I don't see Tsunoda going to Red Bull. Thank you for the follow, Lucas, by the way. I missed the follow earlier as well, Aria. Thank you. My notifications aren't on. Well, they're on, but I can't hear them because of how I've had to set it up. I don't see Tsunoda ever going to Red Bull. I don't think he has the personality for it, to be honest. Looks decent on boards, watching Alonso there, you know. He's throwing that car around pretty successfully. Eight tenths down. It was a decent lap from Alonso. Yeah, it tells you what turn it is. It's a nice little addition, isn't it? Yeah, Alonso. I mean, Alonso hasn't lost his edge, and he's... How old is Fernando Alonso now? Is he 41? Let's find out. Oh, he's already 42! He's 42 already. We were talking about Mercedes taking him. By the time Mercedes would take him, he'd be... When's his birthday? He'd be 43, turning 44 in the season. Yeah, no, he's still good. What I'm telling you is they refused to give Lewis a 2-year contract, and he was in his late 30s. Like, they're not going to give Fernando a fucking 2-year contract and take him at Mercedes when he's 43 going on 44. Oh, that would be madness. But at the minute, he's still phenomenal. Yeah, I accept that. It's honestly hard to say, Aidan. I think, based on what I've seen, Red Bull is still the lead team. But I don't think the gap is as big as it was yesterday in testing times or anything. Because most of the other competitors haven't put in performance runs yet. So I don't think the gap is a second or anything like that. But I do think Red Bull, a couple of tenths ahead. Formula One families. Yeah, I like that, Arabos. I'm going to write that down, mate. Well, yeah, they would definitely have different salaries, no doubt about that. I mean, Alonso's salary would be substantial, but Lewis's salary is already substantial, so... Depending on the views, Aribos, it would make maybe £2, so I can give you 20% of that. So you could be making some big bucks. You could be making really big bucks. Just saying. Actually, this video did 1.2k views and earned me £3.50. So if we did about 1,000 views, you would get, I would make £3.50 off that. But it varies. So you might be able to get about 70p. So what I'm telling you is that you could potentially earn between 20p and 70p from giving me video ideas. Nah, they're not bringing Bottas back to Mercedes. You saw what happened to Imola, right, with Bottas and George. I don't think, George replaced him. I'm not sure that would sit down very well. Imagine if Bottas came back to Mercedes, though, and beat George. That would be insane, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The crash at Imola. I don't think those two would be, great teammates. I think Mercedes need to go another route. I don't think they need to be taking on an older driver. That's why I think Alonso wouldn't be a consideration for them. They need to be taking on a younger driver, I think. Well, there's Helmut Marko. Mr. Horner, shirt wide open. Looking cool. Yeah, I could see Albon at Mercedes. I could genuinely see Albon at Mercedes. I want to see Albon getting another shot in a top team. Obviously, he had a go in the Red Bull. It didn't go so well for him, but different circumstance now and what have you. I would like to see him have another chance. Do you know what? I don't mind Jolyon Palmer. I don't mind him. Why do they still use these handheld microphones? Like these old commentary style microphones. Why are they still using these? They must have a headset mic that would be a lot better. Yeah, maybe it's sound quality. I guess it's like having a mic like this, but they don't want it restricted in place. They want to be able to move around with it. So I suppose it's something to do with that. Oh, Piastri. Is he gonna take on Lewis? Is that what the moustache guard is it? I've never been someone that's wanted a moustache. Any of you got a moustache? Oh, it was Lewis that went past Oscar. You didn't even have DRS. Yeah, but I'm talking like just a mustache. No beard. Like, it's never been something oh, red flag? Red flag. Maybe I'll take this opportunity to go make a cup of tea. You really... Oh, God. Right, I'm going to put the kettle on while we've got a red flag. I'll be back in a second. Did we work out what the red flag was for? Oh, there's a piece of curb. Hmm. Oh, yeah, this is the entry to turn 11. The teams are going over the curb. Yeah. Right, all of you that are here, if you haven't already, go like that video. Like it. Love it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and sub. Thank you very much. Is there damage on the Ferrari? Maybe. Oh, it's not another drain cover. Appreciate you, folks. I appreciate you. Is it another drain cover? Or is it... Yeah, he's just stamping it down. Like, mate, does he realise that the force of these Formula One cars are going to suck that right up? That's not going to do anything. Hmm. I think this, based on what I've seen, is going to be a long red flag. Hmm. Well, nothing new, Afro. Well, other than this red flag. This is going to be a long pause. So the Ferrari didn't look like it did anything. Oh, so the piece had been disturbed by the Ferrari, and then Hamilton went over it. Hmm. I don't know why they're stamping it back down. Like that's gonna do anything. It's just gonna keep coming up. He's just walking around stamping the curb down like that's gonna do anything. Are they having a laugh? The suction these cars have into their floor is like a bloody jet taking off, and he's just stamping it down with his foot like that's gonna do anything. It's sort of after it looks like a piece of curb that they're running over has come loose, and well, they've got the floor off Charles Leclerc's car, and we know that because the boards are all up, and they're only allowed to put the boards up when the floor's coming off. Hmm. The problem is there that drivers are actually they're going over the curb onto that outside area. Just looking at pictures, see if I can see a little bit more about. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Well, that would be a smart thing, Wolves, wouldn't it? But they're not going to do that. Morning, Pidge. If it looks like it's going to be a long period, then I will take an early lunch, because there's no point sitting here for nothing for, an hour. He's just walking around stamping, like... You're going to walk around the whole track doing that? Here we go. They're hammering it down, like... Oh, God. Well, in fairness, the reason that part of the curb came off was because they were running wide. So what's happened, they've actually gone over a curb on corner entry, but they're not just going over the curb, they're going over the curb and onto the dirt next to it. No, well, it's not dirt, but it's a concrete or whatever. And a part of the edge of the curb has come up. Hmm. And so, yeah, yeah, it could be pretty interesting, that though, because the floor could have been fairly heavily damaged on the Ferrari and the Mercedes. Ferrari have taken their floor off. Mercedes haven't actually taken the floor off Lewis's car, but they have inspected it. Hmm. Wonder if there was a... Yeah, basically they go into a part of the track there off the road, and I guess the curb's just given way. I mean, they probably don't replace the curbs that often either, if anything. I think you've got a situation where we've raced on this track for what, 20 years? We've got a red flag sponge run. A piece of curb has, or someone said it was a drain cover, but it looks like a piece of curb has flown up, and they're doing a track inspection. Yeah, Hamilton and Leclerc both drove over it, and they're potentially done a lot of damage to one of their floors. Hmm. I mean, they're inspecting that. There's got about 10 people around it. Yeah, you could be right. It could be the drain cover that's just painted in the same colors as the curb. And because they kept going so wide. Hmm. Yeah, Lewis went over it. It looked mostly like it was on the tire that Lewis went over it. But when Charles went over it the second time, it looked like it was mostly under the car. So, I mean, potentially, this disastrous. I assume they have a spare floor, but Ron, you watched a film, the first Death Wish film, from 1974. I've not seen that. And based on your description, I don't think I will. I'll be honest, this looks very like Too Many Cooks Spoil the Broth. There's about 10 men just looking at this drain. Like, God. There's just men standing around not doing anything. That's gonna be expensive. Everyone's just looking around. Yes, 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 yes. And then there's just the other man just stamping it down with his foot, like that's gonna do something. That man looks like he's counting the feet. There's no way he's walking like that. It looks like he's counting distance. Why is he doing that? Hmm. looked like he was counting the distance of the curb, didn't it? He wasn't walking like that. It looked like he was getting... But why would he need to get the distance of the curb? Hmm. Hmm. I mean... God, has it been 25 minutes for this red flag? This doesn't look... I'm trying to decide whether I should go do something else with my morning and then come back for the afternoon session. Or, if I stop the stream now, will they immediately green flag it again? Oh, I'll be then furious. Yeah. I mean, it's testing. Can't they just tell all the drivers, don't use that curb? Like, and just crack on. It's not like it's a race weekend. Oh, guys, just don't use that curb, yeah? Bye. And if you use the curb, it's going to fuck up your car. So really don't use it. Done. Obviously, it's not going to be great for lap times and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's just testing. Yeah. Or, I've got an idea. Let's make Christian Horner stand there on that drain cover. He's got to hold it down. Putting Horner on the corner, yeah. That'll be what Sky calls it. And now, let's go to our correspondent, Horner on the corner. I said this earlier, and I don't know if any of you agree. I'm just going to bring it up once more. Yesterday, I felt as though Christian Horner was actually really keeping to himself. He's not in any Red Bull gear in the garage. And as I understand it, I'll be corrected, he didn't do any interviews yesterday. He didn't do a press conference like Toto or anyone. He hasn't spoke about the Red Bull after yesterday's performance. Helmut Marko is, but Christian hasn't. It felt to me like he was hiding because obviously if he goes and talks to the press now, they're going to ask questions about this and he probably can't speak about it. It felt like he was just staying back in the garage and just keeping himself to himself. Maybe he's been told to, or maybe he's just doing that of his own. You know, he's just sort of there, but not drawing attention to himself. Yeah, someone will ask him, and then, you know, he'll say, I can't comment on that, and it just looks... It's better just not to speak to anyone, isn't it? Oh, they're taking pictures of other parts of curbs now. That's going on the gram. Guys, if they're going to check every curb, this is going to take ages. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I count 13 men around that drain cover. I don't think the Ferrari floor is that bad because they've put the floor back on now. So I don't know whether it was a new floor they put on there. Unlucky for some. Well, it's terrible, Pigeon, isn't it? The amount of carbon is terrible. I've said this, and I hope they do it. I think there should be a stipulation in the rules, in the sporting regs next year, that states areas of the car, like all body panels, have to be painted. The only thing that could be carbon is the floor, you know, but all body panels, front wing, rear wing, have to be painted. I hope so. Whether they'll do that or not, I don't know. But it would at least mean that then the team know that no other teams are gaining an advantage in weight, and so they'll paint their cars as well, and it'll make the cars look better. That guy just literally looked at that curb, stomped once on it, and went, "Yeah, that's fine." What? He literally just went, "Yeah, good that." Yeah, solid curb, that. Yeah, there's currently a red flag because they're doing a track inspection. There's a problem with one of the curbs. Downforce shoes, yeah. Is this from this season of Drive to Survive, Dan, or is this from last season? What the hell are they doing? Like, what are they doing? I haven't seen the new season of Drive to Survive yet. I haven't even watched the trailer for it. But to be fair, Lewis complaining about the concept. It's not just the concept, it's about getting that concept right, isn't it? So saying, oh, let's change the concept, it's not as simple as that. Because as we're seeing a little bit with Red Bull are going down that route. So the concept isn't the problem, it's the execution of the concept. You know, and obviously he wants a competitive car, but you've got to leave the designing to the engineers. Yeah, just build a quicker car, man. I want to go racing. All these Ferrari lads in their red Ferrari shoes. What's the Italian for hammer time? Well, let's find out. English to Italian. English. Hammer time. Tempo di martello. Tempo di martello. Right. Lewis, it's hammer time, would be Lewis, il tempo di martello. Lewis, il tempo di martello. I don't know. Do you know how a lot of people do accents, myself included? You just say the words in a faux fake accent of the country. You just accentuate the accent that you believe that country has when you're saying the words rather than just saying the words. You're like, just say the words. Lewis il tempo di martello. 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 Hold on. Lewis el suo piano D. That means Lewis, it's plan D. Lewis el suo piano D. Lewis, it's plan F. We're on plan F for fucked. Lewis, we're on plan M for Mercedes. Yeah, you basically, you sound Italian, but you speak English, or you sound English. It's basically, I don't know if this is an English thing or a British thing, rather, because I'm not even English. We just speak in an accent. Some people will go abroad and they'll just speak in an accent, but still speak in English and expect them to know what you're saying. Hello, do you know where the toilet is? Mate, you're speaking English. That's what people do. See. Right, if it gets to within an hour left, I'll call it and come back this afternoon. Oh! Morning session will not be resumed. Wow. Now, this is rough for some drivers who've obviously, Lewis will miss out on, an hour and 40 of the morning session. Perez, because Max is in the car later, Perez only got 20 laps in. Yeah, that's not good for a lot of the guys, actually. That's not good for a lot of the guys. Yeah, but when it's a drain cover, like what happened in Vegas, Dan, is the drain cover came, but the concrete around it was sucked up as well. So it's not that simple as just going, oh, it's a drain cover. Like, they have to... What happens with the ones on street circuits is they're welded down. And so, yeah, they obviously need now a couple of hours to get that fixed. Afternoon they're going to start the afternoon session earlier. Yeah, extra hour in the afternoon session. Well, that sucks. That sucks for the drivers who had the morning session and are swapping to a teammate in the afternoon. That just means their teammate gets an extra hour. You'd be like, sorry, I get an hour and a half less and they get an extra hour. How does this work? Because a lot of these guys will now swap over their cars. I think it's only Hamilton and Sargent who are in the car all day. Everyone else is swapping over to their alternative drivers. So basically now those alternative drivers will will get 5 hours instead of 4. They can, in theory, swap mid-session, but you've got to change the pedals, the seat. It's probably quite a long process to change it all. I don't know how long it takes. And I don't even know if they're allowed to swap mid-session. They probably are. But they've got obviously different seat, different, positions on the pedals. I imagine it is something that can be changed mid-session. Probably. Right. I'm going to go take my hour off then. It's still only an hour off, but, I'll be back at 11, just after 11. Goodbye, YouTube stream. I will be back here at 11 o'clock then. For the start of the afternoon session. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope to see you this afternoon. Goodbye. As for Twitch peoples, the same. I'll be back probably 11ish then. And we'll catch the afternoon session. And we'll see what's cracking. Well, I tell you what's cracking. The drain covers. That's what's cracking. Yeah. Anyway. Goodbye. I'll see you later. Bye.